215B and a 183. So I can see, or at least I'm anticipating, Raid are going to be fighting the A-B area. I'm going to be interesting to see how they deal with a potential push by Alert over the C cap out to the northwest corner of the map.
Then again, if you consider that Mouses have been put near B before in Clan Wars and in different tournaments, I think 2 Mouse setup may be that they are going to be right in front of B, just holding anybody from capping, while they may send someone to C and someone to A. If someone goes A, that's probably going to be just for scouting. As for C, you would probably see I7s go cap and then go over the bridge and hold the positions on the far side of B, basically.
Definitely, I think I completely agree. They're going to be looking to lock off the approaches from C on the rear. That 183 played by Sick, that's going to be. I am expecting to see him in the sniping spot at the back, in the spawn area, sat behind a bush, ready to light up anyone that is stupid enough to push down the flank that he's got control over. But at the same time, they are signaling very early on with no mediums and no light tanks. They're signaling quite strongly the general flavor of their approach, unless they do something crazy, unless they pull a completely new strat that most people would never have seen before.
Yeah, I mean, pushing with Mouses not a really general thing to do, but sometimes Mouses are mostly Mouses now have been realized how much potential they have, as people on other teams, when they see a Mouse on the enemy team, they probably mostly think, okay, there are 1 or 2 Mouses, and if they push first into us, we need to conserve our shots. And not shoot the Mouse and shoot someone that comes after the Mouse.
Yeah, you have to. Yeah, that's it. If the enemy is pushing, you have to leave the Mouse till last, and it takes a lot of discipline when you're being pushed to not shoot the first tank that comes through the gates, but to focus on the weaker, higher DPM tanks that come through after.
Yeah. So basically, a Mouse is a good tank for being a sponge of some sorts, while others are just going in for the DPM or just generally autoloaders, for example. Not unusual to see autoloaders paired up together with Mouses, or instead of autoloaders, EDs.
And this is what we're seeing from Alert. Alert, we've got 50 Shades of Noob and a Mouse. We have 2 IS4s and IS7s, so 3 Russian heavies from them as well. But they're not taking a 183 or 215B. We've got a 268, excellent stealth TD at tier 10. The E4, which has got excellent alpha and quite a strong turret, and possible mobility. And then there's the Clipper, the AMX-50B. So
quite interesting to see that there's only one AMX-50B though on Alert's team. Probably they have it as either a sweep up tank, just to sweep up everything that's low HP, or just generally help with some fire.
It's also very fast. Now, if Alert are looking at Raid's team composition, they're seeing that Raid don't have any mediums. Now, the AMX-50B is probably one of the fastest tanks on the battlefield, so maybe they'll send him out to sea. We just have to see, but it doesn't look like he's heading that way at the moment.
Yep.
So we've got Raid are in the north spawn, red 1 and 2, and Alert are pushing up from the south spawn, blue 1 and 2. It looks like both teams are converging on the A-B flank and ignoring C for now.
And I think you were actually right about 2 Mouses going to A from Raid, as they are still making their way towards the side scraping positions. And if we took a really strong position for Crossfire, for Toby from Raid, he can cover B if necessary, and also Crossfire on anything that tries to go into A.
And Ultra Instinct is in a very difficult position because he's hull down in the IS-4, which is tough. But we've got the Sick in the 183. He's able to put HE or HES shells into the top, and he's only doing 400 damage each time, but that's enough. That's enough to really make Ultra Instinct think twice about holding on to that spot.
Okay, so it seems like Alert's mouses are pushing up a bit, going near A. Probably going to try and see where the Raid's mouses are. And for now, they're both unspotted. But now the Raid is spotted, so mouses will probably gonna try and hold each other off from pushing into A.
And Ultra Instinct is in a lot of trouble in the IS4, and we've got an IS7 here pulling back. He's taking a lot of hits from Wait for Green and Tia, and LVGL in the IS4 is the only thing holding that flank up between the CB cap. And Raid have pushed into B. I'm not so sure that's a good move, but they've managed to knock out Ultra Instinct, so they've got the gun advantage and they're starting the cap pressure.
Actually, that's a great bait from Raid, as they have Wait for Green and like pushing in with lower HP, trying to get others to shoot at him, while Tia from Raid in his ISM is trying to support him, and others in the meantime are trying to push in. I don't think it's a bad plan, actually.
Wait for Green is in trouble, and although they're a gun up at the moment, Raid are really throwing away some hit points at the moment. If they're not careful, they're going to give up that asset. Wait for Green's being pushed on. Tia's covering. Excellent rotation there. Get the hit on LVGL. I'm looking at the flank with the IS7s, IS4s over here. What's happening with the mouses at the moment?
For mouses, actually, it's stalemate right now, as mouses cannot really penetrate each other that well. Brown Crab actually took a hit, but JP in his mouse from Raid is staying strong. And as for his buddy, he did take a shot. Blaster Jack took a shot from the mouses, but it's nothing too terrible.
And the mouses are very healthy at the moment on both sides of the coin. So it's going to be very interesting to see which team's able to trade best. This is the battle we're looking at the moment. It's a trade, and at the moment, Alert are not doing very well. LVGL is going to go down if he's not careful. He's pushing up way too aggressively. He's less than he's a one shot. Oh, but he gets the bounce from Tia, and
Now
he
it
is in a
seems
lot
like
of trouble.
Raid are actually attempting a push. They have put both of their mouses and an FV, the 215B, right into crossfire.
Oh, and the
They lose
215B
an
is
FV.
down.
Yeah, and it seems like I7s are not going to support them, as they are actually pinned down by the 268 and the I7 Sechna Kuryu.
And
From
Sapipiu in the 50B is down, so it's a two-gun advantage to Raid. The Mouses made it, well, a good attempt at a push, but they've held onto enough hit points to still be effective in this fight. And they've got their friendly IS-7s behind them, so they're in no danger of being flanked. Now we have to look for the IS-7s of Raid to isolate and start picking off alert tanks at the back.
Actually, quite interesting. When Mouses went in from Raid, they had 40-point advantages. It was 340 to 300. Now they've gained a lot of score. And at first, it even looked like it would be a terrible idea to go into a crossfire. But as I said before, Mouses are like sponges. They don't really care about taking damage if they can dish out the same damage back.
Exactly, and I thought Raid were in a bit of trouble when they lost the 215B, but the Mouses held in there and they flanked with a 183, and he was able to very quickly knock out Brown Crab in the Mouse, and now chewing through 50 Shades, and that's a clear victory for Raid there, very convincing.
Yeah, great game displayed by Raid. Some things you would find kind of questioning, why would Raid try and do this, but actually they traded hit points very well, and you can see in the post-game stats that Raid did 5,000 more damage than Alert did, which
Which is,
basically,
that's a
yeah,
big margin.
yeah. And the damage is mostly spread evenly across Raid, while only two players from Alert have over 2,000 damage done.
So we're going back into Mine Runes, switching spawn now, and it was very interesting to note that neither team took a cap approach to that game. Both teams sort of accepted the deal of hit point trading. and kind of trying to resolve it by killing each other rather than looking to apply cap pressure. Although Raid did try and push the B cap and had some success with that, baiting Alert into unfavorable situations. So let's see if they try that again.
Thing about A cap is actually that if you put someone there and they are spotted by the enemy, they cannot run, and it can be easily pushed if there's no support either. So that's a really risky position to take. C and B is mostly the preferred caps on May and Ruins.
Yeah, but now both teams have kept the same lineups, but they are doing things slightly differently. Raid have still got the two mouses going along the A cap. Well, actually, no, the mouses, yeah, they're pushing towards A. But Alert have really switched it up, and this is something I thought the 50B would do last game. He's pushed up into the C cap with another IS-7. So now they've got the cap lead, and they've got a slightly wider flank on Raid. This is going to give them quite a good opportunity if they're able to exploit it.
Actually, you would see that both teams don't keep one tank in one position. They send a pair of them, and that's what all teams in Clan Wars should actually exercise. Is not make it possible for the enemy to isolate their tanks, and at least have one more tank to support everybody.
And that just having a second tank means that even if you lose, you'll lose tanks at a lower hit point ratio loss. So you'll sort of come out overall as a team in a slightly better position. But initially, Alert were trading much better. They got some shots in on XX, JPXX, Blast, and Tia. But now they're starting to bleed hit points on the 50B, 268, and their IS7 Battle Hardened.
Yeah, quite unfortunate as they did have the lead and they actually had the C cap, but they somehow lost B. Not much control over B in that position, and the Raid actually capped A, which is kind of surprising that they have one TD in spawn for Alert, and yet no one has spotted A for him. Quite unfortunate.
Well, I'm thinking Raid, as soon as they saw the C cap going, they knew that they'd have a gun advantage in that half of the map, so pushing into A wouldn't be too risky for them. But we're seeing a flank being executed now by Alert going through Red 1, and they're potentially going to get the drop on this 183. We've got the 50B who's missed that shot, and he's taken two, and Sick is in a lot of trouble. He has gone down to a one shot. He's got a lot of angles on him. He's really got a... No, he's gone. And this could be a tide turner. There's 4 minutes to go. Raid have got a 2 cap strat over Alert's 1 cap strat, and they're going to have to start knocking out players like LVLG in the IS7 here. Otherwise, they're in real danger of getting pinched.
Yeah, but still they have control of both caps. So at this point, if they try and pull back mouse a bit as like both mouses, just so they don't get isolated one by one, just as the JP was from Raid, then that will be quite an interesting situation, as even if they would be pincered, the mouse would be still a good sponge for Raid.
And it's very close now, but I think Raid are going to clinch this one. Rib's probably going to go down. We're looking at 4 guns on 3 here. Yeah, Raid's clinch it. Very, very close. I think Alert pushed a little bit too late there in the day. I think that was the issue.
Well, actually, they did leave LBLG in his IS-7 alone, although they did have an IS-4, but IS-4 was trading really inefficiently against the IS-7s from Alert, from a Raid, because he was firing HE while giving full side at some points against the IS-7s, and IS-7s just punished him with the armor piercing like it's nothing.
And it was from Raid. Actually, this time Alert did better trading. Battle results show Alert have got a 2,000 hit point lead in terms of damage dealt over Raid, but the Raid managing to get A and B really ramped up the pressure and gave them a very strong position to fight from.
So now we are going into Yamato Harbor, a really interesting map. One half of it is a really strong playground for mediums and light tanks, as well as a great feeding ground for TDs. while the other side is Emporium of heavy tanks. Not much can be done against heavy tanks in this harbor part of the map, unless the playgrounds of mediums have been lost.
Well, if you can control that open flank, you can start exploiting lines of fire. But at the same time, the city area has got the two caps, and a smart team can lock that down and just wait it out and force the enemy to come to them. So it's really an interesting map. You see lots of different variants, lots of different strategies. I'm keen to see how these teams approach it.
Raid have actually switched one of their tanks out for an M48 pattern, and now they've taken, instead of Mouse's, IS-4s. So, and they have an STB as well instead of one FV215B. So it seems like they will be trying to take C and try and hold it together with FV215B 1A3, while heavy tanks goes A and B.
And radar, yeah, very, very spread. We've got the three IS-4s pushing into A, which is quite strong. They're great hull-down tanks, good side scrapers, and the two mediums out at C. Now, radar spread very, very thin. Alert are playing quite passively in a city, but if you look on the minimap towards C, Alert might be gearing up for a push through the C flank. We've got C being capped. I'm not able to see who's there at the moment. Yeah, Ultra Instinct in the IS-7 capping C. He's supported by SAPPU in the 215B behind him, and the 268 in the TVC position, and LVLG in the pattern, spotting that hill more in the center. So Alert have got the cap lead. They've got better map control. If they can deny Raid A, they're going to be in a very strong position, but a huge hit by Sick in the 183 there in an Ultra Instinct. He's lost half of his hit points.
Yeah, and that's exactly why would you take an FV1A3 into a fight like this? Wide open flanks when you can sit in one strong position for the tank destroyer. That's all the tank is all about. And if he gets a side even of a mouse or even EVA 100, there's a good chance it can penetrate the hash.
And
really.
he will, yeah, absolutely. One mistake and it's big punishment.
Yeah.
Very, very unforgiving. Now, Alert are leading the cap points, but they're bleeding hit points. Ultra Instinct down to 50%, Brown Crab down to just over 50%. 50 Shades of Noob has taken, well, one shot. So, but B is now under pressure, and has been for a while. Wait for Green in the IS-7 there is locking it in. It won't give Raid the win, but it's gonna stop the gap from increasing in terms of cap points.
Yeah, exactly. And talking about City, it seems like Raid have realized they have one tank advantage in A cap, so they're attempting a push together with a medium.
And a great flank by Toby 180 in the STB. He's really caught Brown Crab out of whack, but he's a big hit there. Brown Crab's down. Now Raid have got the cap. They've got the city, and they're sweeping through. They've forgotten A, and they're pushing through the city. How are Alert going to respond to this? This is the question.
Alert are actually pulling in an FV205B and 268 that were initially in the spawn area, covering C and B at the same time to help.
And an IS-4 is down from Alert, and this Alert are in a lot of trouble here. And the cap points are almost even, and they are bleeding hit points. They're two tanks down. Raid have got much stronger cap control, and now we just go to the quieter corner of the map. We've got the Patton and the 183 from Raid. We're dueling Ultra Instinct and another tank, but they've managed to take out the Patton from Alert, and it looks like Raid have got this one in the bag. I have to be honest.
Yeah, and actually, like E100 may be a strong tank. In my opinion, if you would put a super heavy tank into one strong position to reset B, or if just generally hold the city, I don't think the best or idea would be to put the E100 there. Maybe they didn't have a mouse for that player, but still, kind of a misplay because that E100 was easily caught out of position.
And Austrup has gone down in the 268. That's a 6-1 victory for Raid. The E100 is very strong, but that the high alpha, low rate of fire means that it's not terribly good at holding by itself. It can
Yeah.
get pushed on. I mean, if it gets one bounce, the DPM is really thrown in the enemy's favor.
Yeah, and D100 is not that easy to angle its turret, and the lower plate is quite bigger and has less like track coverage than the mouse. If you want to hold something, then yeah, like E100 has great HE. Maybe they try to put an E100 there to try and reset B, but B is just covered in crates and other miscellaneous stuff in the B cap. So it's quite hard to hit anybody that's in B cap. So yeah.
And once again, we're seeing both teams with exactly the same lineup in terms of tank compositions. Maybe Alert are going to try and switch it up again.
Well, this is the last game out of 4, if I'm not mistaken. And up to this point, 3 victories for Raid, quite strong games as well. So it will be interesting to see how it goes.
And I think for Alert, this is this is quite bad, losing this hard to Raid, because this is their third opponent out of 5, and they're really not clocking up enough points to remain through in the next stage. But if they can maybe get one here, they might be in with a chance if they can take the next 2.
3 Ice 4 is going to A, trying to cap A right now against the Mouse and an Ice 4 from Alert. While I7 wait for green from Raid is seeing for opportunities to go into B, but he doesn't do it quite yet.
And Raid they have managed to lock in A, which is great, and now they've really got it shut down. They've got their IS4s there playing very conservatively, being very cautious on the trade.
A huge hit from the FV1A3 from Raid onto an i7 Ultra Instinct from Alert, 897 damage.
Absolutely massive.
Game changer. Yeah,
And
if they try to push C, it will be a lot more difficult than it was when the i7 was full HP.
And this is the beauty of the 183. You know, if you can cut a tank's hit points in half, you can change the entire fate, the entire fortunes of a flank in one shot. And when you're in the minimap, or even if you're on the other side of the map watching another part of the action, you have the hit point bars of the tanks. And if you see one tank lose 1,000 plus hit points, you know who did it. You know who the shooter was.
Yeah, it only goes for an 1A3 that can do 1,000 damage even to the heavily armored tanks in the game, as other tanks can do it only with HE or something close to it.
I'm very surprised actually to not see Alert blind firing the bush. It's got to be painfully obvious where the 183 is, and I'm fairly sure that Baustrab in the 268 has got a line of fire there, but it's risky taking blind shots. But I'd be fairly confident. And yeah, he took one, but he missed. And if you look at 6th position, actually, he's not right up against the building. He's actually relatively exposed. He is further out, away from the building, still in the bush though, exploiting those camouflage mechanics. And that position's probably saved him from the blind fire by Austrup in the 268.
Yeah, and it's the fact that 1A3 has terrible camo values that I'm really quite surprised how he did not get spotted when he shot that IS-7. Probably because the view range of an IS-7 is pretty terrible for a tier 10 tank.
He's also also sick in the 183 was firing from slightly further back from behind the bush, and this gives him it increases the camouflage effect of the bush slightly. Now the hit points are 1.5k in the favor of Raid. We've got a very strong 400-point lead in terms of cap points. And unless Alert are able to really execute a strong push on one flank, it looks like this one's going to Raid.
Yeah, and mediums actually, 2 mediums are holding down if I'm not mistaken, 3 tanks, now 2 tanks at sea. Quite interesting from Raid, because if you hear about holding something, you don't really hear about putting mediums somewhere. Mediums are like scouts for tier 10, but here you actually see Raid just do a massive holding, like doing massive opposition with this
And
type
I,
of tank.
and I think they were relying on the alert, thinking that the 183 was still there when actually he was flanking. But now the whole raid team spotted, and so alert could play much more aggressively. There is only the STB and M48 here. Brown Crab and LVGL could they could work. LVLG could really work together and squeeze these guys out. But it's not where the fight is at the moment. The alert heavies are falling like flies inside the city.
And it seems like the E100 that has just gone down for alert was quite lucky, as FB183 from Raid shot actually fired a hash and did not penetrate the side of the turret. Probably seemed like he did not have the AP rounds to fire anymore. That's how much carrying he did this game.
And let's just have a look there. Raid again dominant, almost a 4k damage lead, and kept 6 guns in the fight while alert only had 2 left at the end. So
Yeah.
a very convincing showing there by Raid in all 4 games. I don't think there was ever any doubt. Maybe in the second game on Mayan Ruins, there was an opportunity where alert could have taken it. But really strong, and it's going to be very interesting to see now how alert are going on in the other room to play the Immortals, who have just played Win, and I'm going to look into the scores on that now, especially because we were discussing how Win beat Legion, and then we're going to have Win coming over to play Raid.
Yeah. So again, guys who beat Legion 3 versus 1, if I'm not mistaken, before Win, um, they are gonna be playing against Raid, who just massacred Alert 4-0. Um, on Monday, we actually saw some great games when someone was against Alert. But then again, Alert was again not that decisive. They were not sure about their capabilities or when to push some one flank or not, and I think it again played out on them. Quite a true like a really great possibility, as in the second game on Mayan Ruins, as we saw, they pushed just too late and they actually left some tanks isolated.
And that was the there's some very small mistakes by alert in all 4 games. That other teams, maybe earlier on in the tournament, wouldn't have punished them for. But Raid are showing their class. They're playing very solid games. They're not overextending tanks. They're not overexposing tanks. They're trading really well. The strategies we're seeing from Raid aren't anything amazing, but the individual players of Raid's team are clearly following orders, being very coordinated, and they're executing the basics really well. And it just goes to show, if you can get into position quick enough, if you can establish a cap lead, or if you can trade well, these very simple things, you can beat Alert, one of the best teams in the game. Okay, Raid are also one of the best teams in the game. But you'd think in 4 games, Alert might have been able to squeeze in 1 win. But Raid really gave them no opportunity, no kind of weaknesses or mistakes to capitalize on.
Yeah, so that's it for Raid against Alert. We'll be seeing you guys on the stream after half an hour exactly for games between Raid and Win. A really interesting matchup. I can't wait to see it, and I hope you guys to see you there.